What up guys, welcome back to 88-Bit Tech. I'm AJ and today I've got another AliExpress review for you. This time I've got some DDR4 RAM from Kllisre, I'm just going to call it Kllisre, easier to say. Some Kllisre DDR4 RAM. This was a 16 gig kit that I got for a really good price, but is it worth it? Let's get into the video.
So I wanted to show you the CPU Z with the sub timing so you can just get a better idea of what each one is set to. On the left hand side here we have the Kllisre 16 gig kit, 16 gigs here, and it's running at CL22 22 22 52. The bank cycle time of 74. The bank cycle time is 74 for all three of these kits, so that doesn't change. But for the 16 gig kit Patriot and the 32 gig kit Patriot, we have the same timings here. They're both running at both configurations are running at 16, 20, 20, 40. Okay guys, so we're gonna get straight into the results here. So we ran a multitude of tests to test out the different RAM configurations that I have here. So the blue on all the graphs is going to represent the Kllisre 16 GB CL22 3200 MHz. The red is going to represent the Patriot 16 GB kit CL16 3200 MHz, both of these in dual channel by the way. And then the last one in yellow is the Patriot 32 GB CL16 3200 MHz, so that's 4 8 gig sticks. We did a bunch of different tests to include Heaven Benchmark, Userbenchmark, and PC Mark 10, as well as running a couple different games as well. So we tested these different configurations in Cyberpunk, Diablo 4, and Armored Core 6. And then lastly, we also tested the SSD speeds on both the dual channel configurations, so the Kllisre 16 gig kit and the Patriot 16 gig kit as well. So the first test suite that we ran, as you can see here, is the Heaven Benchmark. We've got the score on the left hand side, and on the right hand side we've got the FPS. With the scores, you can see that they're all fairly close. The Patriot 16 GB did end up getting the highest score from the Heaven Benchmark at 2396, followed by the 32 gig kit getting 2384, and the final lowest score being the Kllisre at 2383. However, all these scores are relatively close to each other, and honestly the difference is fairly negligible. And we'll be able to see that in our FPS differences. Once again, the Patriot 16 gig kit did get the highest score the highest FPS at 95.13, followed by the Patriot 32 gig kit at 94.67, and lastly 94.6 with the Kllisre. So it's all within 1 FPS, less than 1 FPS range, so really not a huge difference there when it came to this built-in benchmark, or this synthetic benchmark rather. And this is going to be a similar kind of motif that you'll see with all the results, that the Patriot 16 gig kit scores the highest out of all three. I think the reason for this is that most motherboards are built to support a dual channel architecture, so it actually runs better when you only have 2 sticks running in dual channel. When you have 4 sticks, so all 4 lanes occupied, it then has to kind of divvy up the efficiency between the 4 sticks, I believe. I'm not an expert on this, I just have a rudimentary understanding of it, but from these results it does explain why the 16 gig kit does better, even though it's only slightly better in certain things than the AliExpress Kllisre 16 gig kit. Let's move on to the next test here. We did the user benchmark test. In this one we focus specifically on the memory portion of the test. This is where it is a little bit different, at least when it came to the overall score, because the user benchmark doesn't just test the memory. So it'll show you an online result. It sort of looks something like this. Yeah, and this is only the memory kit portion of it, so it'll show system memory latency ladder, and then the different read-write speeds max there, and latencies, and the overall percentage of the score, comparing it to other people who have tested similar type of RAM. I did this user benchmark 3 times and I pulled the average out of the 3. So these are the percent scores. This one's a little different because it's testing the entire PC in different parts of it. The 32 gigabyte kit does end up coming out on top, which makes sense. It's just better because with the different types of tests that they do in user benchmark, you're gonna get a higher score on a lot of other stuff, so it's gonna increase your overall score. With the latency though, we do get that similar motif like I said before, with the lowest latency being the 16 gig Patriot sticks, followed by the 32 gig sticks, and then lastly, but not far off, the Kllisre 16 gig kit. And these latency timings, so this is a CL latency is measured in nanoseconds, and 66 nanoseconds, 63 all the way to 67 nanoseconds is extremely fast. I don't even know if these timings are perceptible by humans. So 1 nanosecond is a 1/1000th of a second. So 63 seconds versus 67 seconds, it's really not that much of a difference, and I don't think you'll notice it while you're daily driving your computer. Now let's move on to the next test here. This is the PC Mark test, and I also ran, so that the heaven benchmark, I ran it 3 times and pulled the average for those as well. But with the PC Mark 10, I only ran this test once, and these are the scores that I got for this. PC Mark 10 is also another software that runs a whole bunch of different scenarios, opening internet browser. This is something that's going to be more show more of a result with your RAM kits, and it does. However, it's so minuscule. Again, the difference is negligible on this as well. I don't think there's anything significant about the scores on this. You'll see that this one we do have more of a linear progression here, with the lowest score being the Kllisre 16 gig kit, followed by the next one up is going to be the Patriot 16, and the highest score being the 32 gig Patriot, which once again makes sense with what the PC Mark 10 does. It does video conferencing, video editing even. It also has opening up Word documents, typing, opening up web pages. Does a bunch of different tests, and it's quite a long and extensive test, so all really close in score. And now we're going to get into the gaming portion of it. So this is the part that you guys probably care about, and I'm sorry to tell you, but there's really not much of a difference here either. So whether we're using the really cheap, ridiculously cheap AliExpress 16 gig kit, Kllisre kit, or if we're using the more expensive Amazon Patriot kit, or the known brand, we're getting about 57 FPS. So for the Cyberpunk test, I did 3 passes with each kit, and we're running it on high preset settings with no FSR, and it's custom here because we turned off motion blur because I'm not a huge fan. So they're running this at 1080p, and I took the average out of 3 on each one, and as you can see, here's the results. The highest score is going to be coming from the Patriot 16 gigabyte kit at 57.94, and the second highest is going to be the 32 gig kit at 57.17, and the lowest score, but not by much, is the Kllisre 16 gig kit at 57.01. So it's within 1 FPS, at less than 1 FPS in performance, so it doesn't really affect gaming all too much there. Well, I think we kind of knew that, but I wanted to test it out for myself anyway. Now we're gonna go into Diablo 4 and Armored Core 6. So these first 3 sets of bar graphs here are Diablo 4, and the bottom 3 are Armored Core 6. Now when we look at the averages for Diablo 4, they're all neck and neck. In fact, the Kllisre 16 gig kit did end up beating out the 32 gigabyte Patriot kit by 1 FPS, and matched the score of the Patriot 16GB kit. The 1% lows for Diablo 4 are going to follow the trends from the previous graphs. So the highest FPS is going to be the Patriot, got the best 1% lows at 68, followed by the 32GB kit at 67, and then with the Kllisre coming in at last place at 65. But it's only a 3 FPS difference there on the 1% lows, and that doesn't happen too often. Now where it gets a little bit strange is I'm not sure why this happened. I probably should have retested Diablo 4 again with the 32GB kit. I don't know why I didn't, but it's probably a time thing. However, this one came up to be with the highest 0.1% lows being the Patriot 16GB kit, followed by at 60, then followed by the Kllisre kit at 58, and the Patriot 32GB kit dropped all the way down to 43. But that could be for any number of reasons. Something different could have happened in game. Maybe I like a special mob or something, and then it caused it to dip quite low. But remember, this is 0.1% low. It didn't happen often, maybe like one time, so we're completely all right with that. Now moving on to Armored Core 6, we've got kind of a different, this one kind of breaks the mold a bit with the average. In fact, the highest average score for this one came with the 32GB Patriot kit at 75 FPS on average, followed by the Kllisre 16GB at 74, and the lowest score was the Patriot 16GB kit at 73. With 1% lows, we were getting the same trend as previous, with the best score coming from the Patriot 16, followed by the 32GB Patriot, and then lastly the 16GB Kllisre at 62, but all within 2 FPS there. We get a similar result with the 0.1% lows for Armored Core 6, with the Patriot 16 getting 61, and the 16GB or the 32GB Patriot and the 16GB Kllisre actually tying at 58 for the 0.1% lows. Here I ran a Crystal Dismark test. I have 3 different M.2 NVMe SSDs in my computer, and I ran the test on the 2 16GB dual channel configurations. So on this left hand side we've got the Kllisre 16GB kit versus the right hand side, which has the 16GB Patriot kit at 3200 megahertz for both. Yep. So for the Kllisre on the left here, you can see that we're going to be looking at this second line in all of the Crystal Dismarks, because the second line here is representative of more so of your real world values. So rather than that first one, the top line is more of a theoretical value. So with that second line, you can see here that when you compare it, the Kllisre to the Patriot here, the Patriot is significantly higher on the read speeds for Crystal Dismark. We're getting almost $500 or $500 megabytes per second more on the read. However, interestingly enough, on that first SSD here, which by the way, the first SSD with the really high speeds, that's a Samsung 980 Pro, followed by the one with the second high speeds in the 1600s, that's a Fanzhong S790, which is also a Gen 4 SSD, but my motherboard only supports Gen 3 for that second slot. And then the third slot, I have a M.2 adapter with a 1TB King spec Gen 3 SSD in it. Yeah, anyway, yeah. So let's get back to looking at this. We've got the interesting thing here is with that, with the write speeds, for some reason on the Kllisre we're getting 2549 versus 2300 on the Patriot RAM. So yeah, I don't know what that says about anything, but it's 250 more, 250 megabytes per second higher on the Kllisre. Now, if we move on to the my second slot, my M.2 slot here, the S7, the Fanzhong S790 is the same. So as you can see here, we've got pretty much the exact same score, 1622 read, and then the write is 1560 basically, so no real change there. And then for the SSD I have a PCIe card in here with an M.2 slot on there, adapter, and we're getting pretty much the same, 840 for the read, 810 for the writes, same over here on the right hand side, essentially getting 820 on the read and 810 on the write. Yeah, so really not much difference there, but I kind of already knew that RAM and your SSD work independently of each other. They don't really need each other to work properly. I mean, they do, but because otherwise the system won't run with either of them. However, they're not dependent on each other when it comes to the read and write speed, so these really shouldn't be affected, and I wanted to kind of prove that here, and it's pretty obvious that, at least in my results, that there isn't really a difference. So
there you have it, guys. And regarding the 0.1% lows on Diablo 4 with the 32 gigabyte kit, I did run the test again with Diablo, doing 4 runs of the same run on Diablo 4, and I still averaged about 51 FPS. So it's still the lowest out of all the other ones. And just to go a little bit into more about that, I think it is due to the fact that most motherboards are dual channel configurations, so you're going to get the best performance, the best speeds out of dual channel. Whereas with 4 sticks on a board that doesn't support quad channel architecture, you're going to get more bandwidth, but speed, you're not going to get an increase of speeds. You might even get lower speeds just because now you have to share between 4 lanes instead of 2. At least that's what I understand from reading this article regarding RAM stick configurations from cgdirector.com. They talk about it a bit. If you want to learn more about it, I'll link in my description to this article, just so you can kind of have a better understanding of it yourself as well. Don't have to take my words for it, because I honestly don't know all that much about it. All I know is that I've done these tests, and these are the results that I've gotten. And basically it came down to timings don't matter. At least when it comes to gaming and your frames, at least in these 3 different games, it didn't really affect it all too much. It's all within like 1 to 2 frames per second, so it's really minuscule. While yes, in most cases, my dual channel 16 gig Patriot kit came out on top, it wasn't by far. And in fact, in the Cyberpunk test, like, it was less than 1 frame per second difference. They were all 57 frames per second, but like, it was such a minor difference, it's negligible and it's not significant. The Kllisre 16 gigabyte kit from AliExpress, at least for me, has been a really good value. Will I get this again? Probably. This is such a good value for a 16 gigabyte kit. I paid $23.19 for a DDR4 3200 megahertz kit off of AliExpress, which is incredible value. I'm not saying that you should go out and buy this, it's up to you, because I have seen some reviews of people receiving ones that were like just not working or faulty or dead, but at least for me, it's worked. It's been completely fine. I've tested it in 2 different systems, and it's performed admirably in both. And when you're building a budget PC where every penny counts because you want to maximize your GPU and your CPU, then this is one way where you can save a few extra dollars that you can put towards the graphics card and still not lose that much performance. And when you're purchasing off of AliExpress, you do also have the comfort of the 15-day dispute, where within 15 days, if you have the information, the data that can prove that it is faulty, you're going to have to submit a video, but if in 15 days you can prove that the that your kit is faulty, you'll get a full refund. So for a lot of people that don't have to pay like customs fees for stuff coming into the country, I know for Australia we don't have to pay customs fees for stuff coming from China, then it's an easy purchase for me. For $23, if it didn't work, I could just get a full refund. Fortunately, it worked. I'm gonna leave it up to you. I'll leave a link in my bio if you want to go check out where this kit is from. Just keep in mind that the only kit that's at this super discounted value is the white Kllisre 3200 16 gig kit. All the other ones are a bit more expensive, like the black steel one is more expensive. The white steel is cheaper, so it might not aesthetically fit into your build necessarily, but for $23, I'm just astounded that it's keeping up with the Patriot sticks. But yeah, so there you go. I don't know how definitive this is, but thank you guys for tuning in. I know it's kind of a boring video. It's a lot of graphs, but I wanted to find out whether these Kllisre kits were worth it, and I just couldn't find any reviews. So hopefully this is helpful for you guys who are contemplating whether or not you want to pick this up. If you are interested in watching more videos, please subscribe to my channel, like the video if you like the video, and check out more of the videos here. Thanks. Cheers.